put a finger down if a couple of years ago you were on a run listening to a podcast about the origin of the Loch Ness Monster myth and you got interested in it enough that you went home and kept reading about it, and then eventually you called your agent and you said, hey, should this be my next book? And your agent, who's used to you writing books about the American space program and things like the Mayflower, is like, well, that's a left turn, but sure, let's go for it. So you start researching, and a couple months in, you realize, shoot, some of the resources you need are not available in the United States. You let your agent know. Your agent's like, I don't know, keep going. Let's see what we can do. Put together a nonfiction book proposal. Your agent sells it in a minute because she's a genius. The next thing you know, you are in London at the British Library going through the newspaper archives. After that, you scoot to Scotland. You realize Loch Ness is actually very rural. You worry briefly that when you get to your hotel that you're going to get murdered because you're a Chicagoan, but then you realize, oh no, everybody here is so nice, I could probably have dinner with all their families. In fact, the morning after you arrive, you have an impromptu breakfast with a guy known as Mr. Loch Ness. You go through the archives, you do a million interviews, you go on a sonar-guided hunt for the Loch Ness Monster, scanning the bottom of the loch. There is no monster. It was a prank. The more research you do, you realize this is not just about one snowballing prank. This is about the way we tell stories as humans, and it's about the way that the news media handled this prank in 1934. So you go down a rabbit hole, studying journalism in the 1930s, and realize that journalists were just making stuff up, right and left. Anything to sell a paper. This is a story about fake news. You realize this would be a great teaching tool for educators to use to talk about fake news in a non-politicized way, because you don't just have to talk about fake news